this pandemic has seen communities and individuals rally round and work together to bring amazing services, care and support for our most vulnerable. And one person who has seen this firsthand in Peterborough is Peterborough MP Paul Bristow, who joins me now. Good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon, Amir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks, Paul. How are you and yours?
Not too bad. We're getting through this.
Good. We're getting through it together, aren't we? Is I think the key word here. And that's based on what you've seen in and around Peterborough, Paul. What have you witnessed happening in Peterborough?
Well, I've always said that when we get through this, it won't be because of anything politicians like me have said. It will be because of the British people and the things that we're doing each and every day. Yes, staying at home, protecting NHS and saving lives. But it's also the generosity and the spirit of the people, especially in my city, Peterborough. I've seen a number of restaurants and takeaways giving free meals to those who are socially isolated or those who are vulnerable. I've seen people giving out free electrical and handyman work to those, again, who are self-isolated and vulnerable. Free car washes. I went to a car wash today and saw Billy and at that car wash, Auto Spa car wash, giving out free car washes to NHS workers. It's just been absolutely fantastic.
It is amazing, isn't it? And what do you think is the reason that so many are coming together and wanting to help right across the county? I mean, right across the country, in fact. But what do you think is making this happen?
Well, I think this coronavirus emergency will fundamentally change our country forever. And not necessarily in a negative way, but because I think it does remind us that we're all in this together and that we don't just coexist. We are one community, one city, and in the language that I use in Peterborough. And people do want to help their fellow citizens, their neighbours, their communities, their friends, their family. And that's happening each and every day. And it does make me, quote, proud of Peterborough.
Yeah, and that's something you say a lot, but it's never been more true, has it, in the times that we're faced right now, the way we see people coming together. And social media is a great place to see just the extent of the work that goes on across communities. And it really is, it's heartening. And it does, as you say, Paul, to coin your phrase, it does make us proud of Peterborough. But how does it make you feel about the people of Peterborough? I know you're proud of Peterborough, obviously, as a collective, as a city. But has there been certain individuals, you don't have to name names, but you can if you wish, are there individuals that you've met that you think these guys have really gone above and beyond what would normally be expected of anyone at this time?
Well, I think quite often we hear far too many negative things, not just about Peterborough, but about society as a whole. And the one thing that I always knew before I got this job as the MP for Peterborough is there is a lot of good people out there in Peterborough and lots of what I call love and what people do each and every day for their fellow neighbours, their communities, and for charities, etc. And there's one man in particular, I will just name one man, but my friend Ishfaq Hussain has really gone the extra mile trying to bring these businesses, these takeaways, these restaurants, all these kind of businesses in Peterborough together to try and make sure that we look after the most vulnerable in our society, because we are one city, we are one society, and we do have to look after one another.
Absolutely, Paul. And that ties in, you mentioning the individual then, that ties in very nicely with our request for people to give shout-outs and thank yous, which you've just done for Ishfaq Hussain there. So, thank you so much for that. What advice, Paul, would you give, if any, to the people of Peterborough during this time? As our MP for Peterborough, I say our because, as you know, I'm from Peterborough. But what advice would you give to us as a collective to kind of help us get through this?
Well, the council do have a volunteer hub. If you have spare capacity or you want to do something good at this difficult time, please do get in touch with the council on 01733 747474. But you don't have to do it through that route either. You will know in your street, you will know in your block of flats, you will know in your community those people who, might be struggling at this difficult time. And if you think they are, give them a call. Knock on their door, obviously observe social distances and see if you're doing your shopping, buy a little bit extra and go and donate it to the food bank, because they would always welcome donations at this time. The food bank at the Methodist Church in Dogsthorpe, which is open between, I think, 11 and 1 every day. Go along and donate there, because, as I say, we will get through this, but we'll get through it easier, we'll get through it better if we all come together and work as one community, we work as one city.
Absolutely, Paul. Wise words and uplifting words, which is what we need at this time. It's difficult to stay positive sometimes. It's difficult, particularly those that live alone and are isolated and don't see people as often as they would ordinarily do. So it's obviously very important that we keep the spirits of those individuals high. So thank you for those words. Final thing, on a light-hearted note, what if anything have you done differently during this lockdown period that you wouldn't have done otherwise? Is there anything new you've been doing at home, maybe with I know you've got young children, anything that you could talk about?
Well, I thought my sack race days were behind me, but trying to entertain a 4-year-old and a 15-week-old in my back garden, I've done all sorts of things. I've been playing all sorts of games, from giant inflatable snakes and ladders and a sack race. And there's a pretty amusing picture of me on social media with my hair going absolutely wild, because I've got wild hair at the best of times, as you know, Amir. But I'm not able to visit my barber, so I've not been able to get a haircut. So God knows what it's going to be like at the end of all of this. But a sack race in my back garden was a lot of fun. And do you know something? This is the best job I'm ever going to have, representing my city. And if making a bit of a spectacle of myself manages to shine a spotlight on my city, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, you're a good sport, Paul. I've always said that. And thank you so much for joining us today on BBC Radio Cambridge. Look after yourself and yours, and we'll speak soon, I'm sure.
Take care, Amir. Thanks
Take
very
care,
much.
Paul. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.